2024 has seen heaps of new tech and software advancements, and what better way to recap the best of the best from the year than with the TechRadar Choice Awards. This week, we're announcing the winners of our 9th annual TechRadar Choice Awards. Every year, we celebrate the most loved tech products and services in more than 90 categories, ranging from earbuds to drones to TVs to air fryers to phones and beyond. Our experts created a shortlist of the top tech across 102 categories, and then you, our TechRadar readers and viewers, voted for the ones they'd like to see win. Now we've combined the reader votes with our expert judges' votes to find the overall winners. And I'm joined by the man who made it all happen, Matt Bolton, Managing Editor for Entertainment on TechRadar, to unveil this year's winners. Hey Matt, how's it been?
Hello, it's been good, it's been busy.
Yes,
Finally we have all the results.
Exactly, and I think you're going to kick us off strong with the Reader's Choice Award, which is the one that is 100% voted for by our readers, right?
Yes, exactly. Most of the awards are, as you said, combined with reader votes with our expert judges' verdicts. This one is all readers all the way, chosen from a short list of the most popular and biggest products of the year. So the winner of the Reader's Choice Award was the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, and it was a very comfortable winner. It got nearly twice as many votes as the second highest voted entry. You know, people really like Samsung products.
Yeah.
A theme that may come up a few times throughout this conversation. And the S24 Ultra obviously is the biggest and the best of Samsung's regular design phones. You know, obviously the Samsung Fold is even bigger and chunkier, but you know, the S24 Ultra is arguably the pinnacle of what kind of traditional smartphones can do.
And I think the processing power that's in there is so impressive, and they've done very, very well of using it in intelligent ways.
The processing power, the AI abilities, and as we'll discuss shortly, the cameras as well. So let's hear from Axel Metz, our phones editor, about the winner of the Phone of the Year award.
Our phone of the year for 2024 is the Google Pixel 9 Pro. We've seen a lot of great phones this year, but Google's latest flagship stands out for being distinctly different from its predecessor. For starters, the Pixel 9 Pro represents the biggest Pixel redesign since the Pixel 6 in 2020. The new model offers a smoother, more polished design than the previous generations of the same phone, and at 6.3 inches, its size hits that nice sweet spot between too big and too small. That said, if you still want a big phone, you can go for the larger Pixel 9 Pro XL, and we're glad to see that Google this year split its premium features equally across two size options. In other words, you don't need to go bigger to get better. The Pixel 9 Pro also impressed us with its durability. You'll get Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the front and IP68 dust and water resistance from the phone as a whole, and of course, Google's AI software runs like a charm on a device that is, surprise, made by Google. To top it all off, Google's 7-year update commitment to the Pixel 9 Pro is equal to or better than anything else on the market right now. So if you pick one up today, it will still feel fresh for the best part of the next decade. The Pixel 9 Pro is a true future-proof device and a worthy winner of our Phone of the Year award.
Well, thank you to Axel. And if you at home want to see all 13 of our Phones category awards winners, please head to the link in the description to see those along with everything else. But we're going to stay with the Google Pixel 9 Pro here because it was also the winner of our Best AI Phone category, which is a new category we added this year.
And it's a very highly contested category, really. I mean, you look at all of the flagships this year, they've all used AI in very different ways.
Yes, exactly. And one of the interesting things is there were just 5 votes from the reader's side between the Google Pixel 9 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Now, the other nominee there was the iPhone 16, which did not make it into the same level of popularity. The sort of slightly slow, slightly odd launch of Apple Intelligence probably tying in there. Who knows how it'll be next year. But interesting that Google and Gemini really took the lead comfortably there.
I think it was a really strong win for them, and the Pixel lineup was fantastic. Didn't get quite as much hype as some of the other phones we've seen this year, but it was a good year for them.
Yes, and speaking of the other phones, I also wanted to mention the best mid-range phone category, which the Apple iPhone 16 did win.
Nice.
And is just an interesting one in terms of there are so many, you know, mid-range value phones coming from all kinds of manufacturers. But one of the interesting things Apple has been able to do is keep its prices of these entry level, shall we call them, new iPhone models really steady. So, you know, when you factor in that in general prices are rising because of inflation, especially over the last few years, there's each of these new iPhones that comes out at the same price ends up being, when you adjust for inflation, the cheapest iPhone since like the iPhone 3GS or something.
Yeah.
And so when you think about the speed and the reliability and the great software update cycle you get from iPhones, it's good value. It's really good value, and that's reflected here.
Yeah.
And yes, I said I wanted to mention the Samsung Galaxy S24 again for the fact that it won our Best Camera Phone
Good.
Awards. Again, very hotly contested. Obviously, Apple always a strong contender here, but this is one where our judges and the readers agreed. It won both sides of the voting.
Yeah.
It's just a fantastic looking device, isn't it?
Yeah, and you look at some of the side-by-sides that are between Samsung Galaxy phones and the rest of the flagships that have come out this year, the rest of the Pro phones that have come out this year. Samsung really does take it with its camera, especially the zoom quality is just incredible.
That's the thing. It's such high quality and it's so versatile.
Yes, yeah.
So we're going to move on to cameras next.
Yeah, it's seamless lead on there. So we're going to go to Tim Coleman now, who's going to tell us all about the winner of the Best Camera of the Year for 2024.
The camera of the year just had to be the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. Put simply, it's Canon's most versatile camera ever and the most exciting launch of 2024. In fact, it probably tips the Nikon Z8 as the best professional camera for most people. The EOS R5 Mark II upgrades the already excellent full-frame EOS R5 with an all-round speedier performance, smart autofocus features, better video, plus a few AI tricks thrown in for good measure. This is a highly capable camera for any kind of professional photographer or filmmaker. We got hands-on with the EOS R5 Mark II ahead of launch and completed an in-depth review, but there was still a sense that we were just scratching the surface of what it can do. Like the EOS R5, the EOS R5 Mark II shoots super sharp 45 million pixel stills, especially when paired with one of Canon's Pro L-series lenses. But its sensor is now the stacked type with a faster readout that minimizes rolling shutter effects, meaning this is a better camera for high-speed photography and for video in general. There's also the second processing engine that delivers incredible high-speed performance, including 30 frames per second burst shooting with a respectable buffer memory. This speedier performance is backed up by near flawless autofocus and subject tracking features. For example, through action or people priority modes, you can pick from a number of sports for optimized autofocus, selecting the person using face detection for the camera to focus on, like a specific player in a sports game or the bride at a wedding. Eye control autofocus is also a hit. The viewfinder has internal cameras that can detect where you're looking in the frame, using your eyes as a guide for the focus point, in conjunction with subject tracking. We also tested the new AI-powered in-camera editing features, which includes an upscale function that increases the size of your pictures by 400%. It utilizes Canon's neural network and is optimized for the EOS R5 Mark II. You select one of your pictures from the memory card in the camera, and it'll increase the resolution 4 times to 170 million pixels for incredible detail. The potential for this tech is huge. To say it again, the EOS R5 Mark II is Canon's best professional camera yet. If you're not nailing the shot once you've got to grips with its pro features, you really should probably consider another career.
Thanks, Tim. It's been a really interesting year for cameras, actually, because you had loads of supply chain issues that moved the goalpost with launches. You had some cameras go absolutely insanely viral, ones that you wouldn't really necessarily expect, which we'll get onto shortly. And then you have on the other side things like AI kind of shaking the foundations of the art form. You've got mobile phone cameras, as we just talked about, the Samsung's phone, really sort of changing the game for would-be amateur photographers. I think the sort of interesting place the market is in is really shown by the best compact camera this year, which was the stick version of the Fujifilm X100. Wouldn't necessarily expect that to go crazy, but it did, because Gen Z's found about it on TikTok and they loved it.
That's the, we've been hearing for years about how the compact camera is dead and smartphones did it. But this thing went wild. It did.
And 10 months down the line, I think there's still back orders happening. I think Tim Coleman said in conversation earlier, it's one of the biggest launches he's seen in his career, really. And certainly the biggest in a long time for cameras. So very exciting news for the industry, hopefully one that we see continue.
And what's nice about that is it's not just popular, it's also good.
Yes, exactly.
Which we love to see.
Always a nice balance, exactly. And then DJI had an amazing year, not just in terms of the awards they got, I think they got 4 in total. They have just done phenomenally at doing well across a bunch of different categories. Best microphone, best drone, best brand as well. They've just done really, really well this year. I imagine, and Tim said this earlier as well, we're probably going to see them expand even further next year, and I think their success in 2024 definitely is a strong precursor of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've got the e-bike as well to wait for, so that's completely different though. That's not a camera.
I guess that's the thing is now I guess they feel they can do anything.
Yeah, there'll be an air fryer next year, there'll be all sorts. There are 13 awards that we've given out to camera brands this year, so as with the phone awards and the rest of the categories, make sure to check out techradar.com. It's linked below for the full award winners. And with that, I think it's time to talk about the best laptop of the year.
Yes, it is. We're going to hear from Matt Hansen, our managing editor for computing, to tell us about that winner.
If you had told me last year that we've been giving a Surface laptop the award for Laptop of the Year this year, I'd have laughed at you. While Microsoft's previous Surface laptops have been pretty decent devices, they've never blown us away. Until now. This year's model, which in typical Microsoft fashion is simply and rather confusingly named the Surface laptop, isn't just a reinvention of a single product, it potentially ushers in an exciting new future for Windows 11 laptops. This is all thanks to the new Snapdragon X Elite chip that powers the new Surface laptop. Unlike previous models that used Intel and AMD processors, the Snapdragon X Elite is an ARM-based chip. Now, without getting too bogged down in the jargon, essentially it's a chip that has been designed for mobile devices, so it's incredibly power efficient with a long battery life and no compromise on performance. For laptops, it's proven to be a real game changer, as Apple itself has found since dropping Intel for its own ARM-based M-class chips. With the new Surface laptop, you get that excellent mobile performance wrapped up in a premium and stylish design. And as it's built by Microsoft, it means you get Windows 11 without that bloatware that often comes with other laptops, which is a nice bonus. And the company has done a pretty good job of making sure that standard Windows 11 apps can all run on the new ARM hardware. For years, it feels like Microsoft has been trying to be Apple's resurgent MacBooks. And this year, with this year's Surface laptop, it's finally succeeded. It's also a Copilot Plus PC, which is Microsoft's catch-all term for laptops that come with neural processing units capable of performing AI tasks. But honestly, that's the least interesting thing about the new Surface laptop. For people who have been eyeing up modern MacBooks but don't want to use macOS, the new Surface laptop is ideal.
Thank you, Matt. And there are 9 computing awards in total, if you want to go and read them all. The ones I wanted to particularly talk about, the biggest impact this year is the Snapdragon X Elite processor, which is finally bringing Windows PCs into the future of super fast, super energy efficient processors that Apple has been happily living in since 2020. And we've had Windows on ARM laptops. They just haven't been in the same league, and now they absolutely are, as you can tell by the Surface laptop kicking Apple's lineup out of the Laptop of the Year category. We gave the Snapdragon X Elite our Best Processor award, which is obviously quite competitive when you've got Apple in there and you've got AMD and Intel, not exactly slouches. And that processor went into our Best AI laptop, again, a new award this year for us, and the Samsung Galaxy Book 4 Edge won that, with the Snapdragon powering it. And the Samsung laptop is a particularly interesting one because it has Windows Copilot Plus, AI capabilities, but also a limited but an amount of Samsung Galaxy AI capabilities. So it's kind of doing this double duty, which is what has elevated it, I think, above the other nominees in this category, because it is doing simply more AI than anyone else.
Yeah, and that's going to sort of be an interesting trend to see if people like gated software like Apple's is going to be able to compete with the brands that can mix and match their different AI profiles.
Absolutely. Now, what we haven't talked about much here is, of course, as part of computing, we have plenty of gaming computer categories, as well as our separate special gaming awards.
Yes.
So take us away on those.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off by handing over to Hamish Hector, who is going to present to us the Game of the Year for 2024.
There's two kinds of people in this world, people who love Balatro and people who haven't played it yet. This addictive poker-themed roguelike deck builder is the freshest take on the genre we've seen in some time, and it's going to be TechRadar's choice for the best game of the year. The gameplay is simple enough. You draw cards from a standard 52-card deck and must play poker hands to score enough points to beat progressively more difficult blinds across 8 antes. To help you cross these growing barriers are various items you collect along the way on your run. You can add playing cards to your deck, alter them with tarot card effects, improve the points scored by hands using planet cards, or gamble everything with a spectral card. Then there's the Jokers, cards that sit outside of your deck and provide a slew of unique ongoing buffs. You never know what consumables or jokers you'll pick up, but understanding how they combo and crafting a strategy on the fly is the key to clearing all 8 boss blinds in your way. And once you clear that 8th boss, you can see how your build fares in endless mode, which challenges you to go as far as you can before failing. My best is ante 12. But the current world record is ante 39. If you want to challenge yourself further, each victory unlocks a new deck with a different starting benefit, or a new stake that makes the run a little bit more difficult. There's also a challenge mode with pre-built Joker setups and rules that force you to think outside the box from the get-go, as well as achievements to complete in the main game that unlock powerful Jokers you might find the next time that you attempt to run. With all of these added extras and its exceptionally Moorish gameplay, it's no surprise that Balatro players have played a collective 11,000 years since it launched back in February, and why for us it's the best game of 2024. And if you want to play it too, you can find it on PC, mobile, Switch, Xbox and PS5.
Thanks, Hamish. If you want to check out all 12 of the awards that we've given for our gaming category this year, as we've said before, check out the link below in the description. An interesting year for gaming. We're in that sort of mid-space, well, not even mid-space, but we're coming up to the peak of when the previous generation of tech is starting to change over. There's a real hum in the air in the gaming industry of what happens next, who's going to come out in the lead in the next age of gaming.
It's a real crossroads right now, which is kind of reflected just in the variety of awards we have, as well as who the winners are, because, you know, the Balatro's Game of the Year is this kind of mobile sensation primarily, and then we've got we've had a whole new type of hardware emerge this year. Cloud gaming continues to be in the background, just constantly building, and we've got, as you say, you know, consoles and everything else just entering into this new era. Yeah,
and I think the handheld PC side of things, I'm so excited to see that really taking off. I've had a Steam Deck, the original one, and it's really, really nice to see the Steam Deck OLED taking a win for that category this year. The new 7.4-inch OLED screen is beautiful, it's lighter, it's more comfortable. It's just made all the right steps in the right direction while still sort of retaining what made the original one become the first and the greatest, in my opinion, handheld PC we've seen so far.
And that was such a hot category. Products like the Asus ROG Ally especially, like we really liked them. They've been really popular, but you know, the Steam Deck is kind of the one to beat.
And as you say, a really interesting year in terms of diversity, because we had our best gaming accessory this year being, or rather console accessory, being the PlayStation Portal. A really great choice from Sony to open up for remote gaming. Just, it's the perfect time for it. Landed really solidly in a great product that's really well designed. No notes, basically.
It was such a funny one because when it arrived, you know, everyone's looking at it going, this is too expensive. And yet it ended up taking not just our judges' votes, but it also got the reader vote as well. So, you know, clearly it won people over at the very least, even though, it had a real kind of air of suspicion about it when it arrived.
Mobile gaming is also having this really meteoric rise, right? And getting the Razer Kishi Ultra this year was a big part of that, I think. It's, again, solidly designed. It feels very much like a piece of gaming hardware, right? It doesn't feel like a mobile accessory. And that's sort of putting the gamer first, getting all these phones coming out with amazing processing powers that are great for gaming. Just like a solid release from Razer. Matt, what is up next on our roster?
So next we're going to talk about TVs, and to announce our TV of the year, here is James Davidson.
Our TV of the year winner is the Samsung S95D, which takes OLED to the next level by combining a screen we've never seen on this kind of TV before with awesome AI-powered processing. First up is its amazing anti-reflection screen, which borrows the approach of Samsung's frame TVs to almost totally remove distracting reflections. I test a huge number of TVs of all kinds for TechRadar, and reflections are a big deal because they can kill a great viewing experience stone dead. The Samsung S95D screen makes it so that reflections are shapeless and can't be focused on, so your eye isn't drawn to them. It's unlike anything I tested before in this kind of TV. This combines with amazing HDR colors, record high brightness for an OLED, and pixel perfect contrast to mean this TV is as good as OLEDs can look. Boosting all of this is Samsung's Real Depth Enhancer AI powered tool, which makes everything look mind-blowingly realistic and detailed, and is the cherry on this cinematic cake. And that's before we talk about how good the built-in sound is and the very cool design, where all the connections and processing are hidden away in a separate box, so only a single cable connects to the super thin TV itself. On top of that, it's a top-tier gaming TV, packing in all the features and connections you need for an elite gaming experience. 2024 gave us a lot of excellent TVs, but only one TV showed me the future of OLED, and that's the Samsung S95D.
Thank you, James. James reviewed the Samsung S95D, so he knows that thing better than anyone else, and he's seen all of this year's top TVs. If you want to see the other 12 TV awards, including projector awards, as well as soundbars, then, as ever, take a trip to the full list of winners. Interestingly, the other award I particularly wanted to talk about here is pivoting from Samsung to Sony.
Yes.
Because Sony actually had a fantastic year when it comes to AV stuff. Great new range of TVs, including an innovative new top-of-the-line TV, the Sony Bravia 9, which uses a new version of mini LED tech that Sony's developed that has such fantastic accuracy in the contrast. It's just a very impressive piece of tech and combines with excellent built-in sound. It won our Best TV for Sound award, in fact. But on top of that, it's done, as ever, a fantastic-looking OLED, some really nice-looking mid-range TVs. It launched a new home theater projector range that are absolutely superb. They're like the real, top-of-the-line stuff. And it launched some new soundbars. And the other one I want to call out is the Sony Bravia Theatre Quad Wireless Home Theatre Speaker System that delivers a superb Dolby Atmos presentation, full 3D spatial audio everywhere around you from these 4 individual speakers. So it doesn't have the kind of the clunkiness of a sound bar. You can fit it into a room in a lot more of a kind of disguised, subtle way.
Gotcha.
And it sounds fantastic.
Amazing. No, it's a very competitive space as well, I think, for the TV awards, right? There's quite a lot to look at every year.
There's so many big brands who are doing such excellent work. One of whom I want to call out for winning the Best Mid-Range TV Award is Hisense with the U8N, which is a mini LED TV that, in the US particularly, is so ridiculously affordable, and it is such good quality. It's a really deserving winner of that award in an incredibly competitive space, because you've got the likes of TCL and Samsung who are pushing really hard at that same kind of price point with really good products.
Yeah.
So putting its nose out ahead is impressive.
I think Hisense is really sort of taking that mid-market in a very confident way. We're seeing it a lot with how readers engage with our stories as well, which is, I think, necessary. It's been a long time since it's just been, well, from my experience as someone who's not as into the space as you are, it was always like, spend loads of money on a TV or get a really cheap one. And I like being able to see these ones and actually feel confident that they're mid-range.
Yes, the new mid-range is a lot more robust
Yes.
than it has been in the past. But forgetting mid-range completely for a second, I want to talk about Best Soundbar, which was won by the Samsung HWQ990D, which is Samsung's most elite soundbar and is just this big battleship thing with big separate, not too big, but pretty big separate rear surrounds and a meaty subwoofer. And it does just, it does 11.1.4 channels of surround sound. And it's so big and dynamic while also being very well controlled, very well refined, and really doing a great job of giving that kind of that dome of sound that Dolby Atmos is supposed to provide. It's fantastic.
Another solid release from Samsung. There's a bit of a trend forming here.
There is. And moving straight on from TVs, we're going to talk about the Streamer of the Year.
Yes.
And here's our streaming editor, Amelia Schwanker, to introduce it.
We think Apple TV Plus is the best streaming service of the year, and here's why. To decide this, we narrowed down the criteria to 3 main areas. These were content versus price, the app experience, and global accessibility. And while it was tight, Apple TV Plus edged it for the win for its commitment to quality over quantity. When it comes to content, Apple TV Plus does have one of the smallest catalogues out there, but it manages to justify this with the level of quality of its originals. This year in particular, we've seen more variety enter the platform, with prestige dramas like Presumed Innocent, Shrinking, Disclaimer. This, whilst having a competitive and stable pricing, is what nudged Apple ahead of its rivals. Its user experience excelled, with one of the slickest app experiences of all the streamers out there, allowing you to stream the majority of its content in 4K with spatial audio and, crucially, without ads, which means streaming on Apple TV Plus always looks and sounds fantastic. Apple also picked up points for its global reach and accessibility. It's available in 100 countries and offers subtitles and dubbing in close to 40 languages. And finally, if you're anything like me, you'll love Apple's back catalogue of big blockbuster-like sci-fis such as Foundation, Sunny, Silo, and my personal favourite, Severance, which has season 2 pinned for early next year. Great job, Apple. Keep the original content coming.
Thank you, Amelia. Apple TV Plus's first time winning this award. It's an award that's been pretty dominated by Netflix, as have a lot of our streaming awards in the past, to be honest.
Yep.
Perhaps understandably. But, the thing about Apple TV Plus is its hit rate is so much higher than most of the streaming services now. It's not firing a million things at me that I can't even be bothered to scroll through to get to the really good stuff. It's kind of like and we see this engagement from readers that shows this. People kind of think, oh, if it's on Apple TV Plus, I should probably at least pay attention to it.
Yeah, and they've had some amazing hits in the last few years that just fit such a broad range of interests. The catalogue might still be a little bit smaller than other things, but like you say, the ability to navigate it a lot easier is very welcome. I'm an Apple TV user and I'm a big fan of it.
It's your second streaming service, right? Like maybe the one that you find most reliable, but you can go to Netflix or Prime Video or whatever to get I want a big catalogue, and then you can afford to have Apple TV Plus as well. What we're seeing a lot of is this year, especially, people cutting back on how many streaming services they're subscribing to. I think Apple TV Plus has had an advantage in that it's very often being given away with with a PlayStation login or with a new Apple device or whatever. But that means a lot of people get to try it, which helps those shows, and I think really helps some things break out, even though it is not the most well-known, not the most well-famous, but it's getting there.
Yeah, and the fact that it can feed into the wider Apple ecosystem so easily. I have it as part of the family data package or the family iCloud package that I have with my family, obviously.
Yep.
And that is, I would not have gone out of my way to get it otherwise, but because it's tacked on so nicely with a bunch of things that I do really need, I use it and I enjoy it.
Now, the other streaming service I want to mention here for winning a couple of awards where it kicked Netflix off from being the previous winner is Prime Video.
Really?
In particular, the best for value. This is the first time that anything other than Netflix has been voted top by the readers.
Wow.
Now, we've had an interesting few years for price hikes and password sharing crackdowns and all this stuff going on around Netflix, around Disney+. Prime Video has had its own share of controversy with adding ads into everyone's feed, but it's also had a really good year in terms of the general movie library it's been adding and the exclusive movies and some popular shows and things. And my favourite movie of the year, Challengers, is available on Prime Video.
There we go.
So it's nailing it as far as I'm concerned. And it actually won the Best for Movies award as well.
Oh, wow.
Along these lines, there was a few months ago, where Prime Video just dropped over 100 really interesting movies on the first of the month. Just added a huge new library. And, for someone like me who's more of a movie buff than a TV guy, I'm in heaven there.
I think it's just because they heard about the awards coming up. They were gearing themselves up for it.
Priming themselves, so to speak.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone. Now we're going to go from lounging around on the sofa watching TV to being more active, Josie.
Yes, we are. And Matt Evans is going to announce for us the winner of the Fitness Device of the Year.
Our winner for the best health and fitness device of the year is the Samsung Galaxy Ring, a high-tech smart ring designed to monitor your sleep, track your heart rate, activity levels, skin temperature, and all sorts of other metrics. Smart rings are in a really interesting spot right now. They've been around for a few years, but they've almost exclusively been the province of early adopters and startups, the best known so far being the Oura Ring. But this year, Samsung shook things up by being the first major tech company to release a smart ring, turning it from a niche little thing into the next big thing in wearable technology. Samsung's already got excellent activity tracking credentials thanks to its Samsung Galaxy Watch line, so it did a great job miniaturizing that technology to fit inside an even smaller device. The ring itself is beautifully designed, with a concave shape to minimize scratching and several slick metallic finishes. It's a premium product with a hefty price tag costing $400 or £400 depending on where you are, but the Samsung Galaxy Ring is full of cool secrets. It's got sleep tracking powered by Galaxy AI that offers personalized advice based on your sleep habits. It automatically tracks your walks and your runs, and it even has gesture recognition controls when paired with a Samsung phone. For example, you can simply pinch your ring finger to operate the camera remotely, which is seriously cool in practice. It's perfect for health data nerds, athletes interested in recovery, and Samsung phone users looking for a top-of-the-range activity tracker. It's also subscription-free, unlike Oura, so even though it's a premium product, it's a winner from a value point of view. All in all, if you're looking to invest in a smart ring, this is the one to get, especially if you compare it with an Android or a Samsung phone.
Thanks for that, Matt. Another Samsung win there. I don't think that's a surprise to many. Samsung Galaxy Ring was phenomenal this year in terms of the amount of interest it got, the success of the launch as well. And it actually didn't just win the device of the year, it also won Best Fitness Tracker and Best Smart Ring. But I think that fitness tracker win's so interesting.
Yeah, Smart Ring wasn't a huge surprise.
No.
There have been multiple Smart Rings came out, and we've kind of been waiting for the Smart Ring to break out. You know, we've known it wouldn't just be Aura trying to drag this category up a hill on its own. Others would get into it when it was ready, and Samsung really just crashed that party.
Yeah, fully crashed that party. The fact that it beat out a bunch of products in a hugely competitive space that are also fitness trackers, but more on the sort of wrist-worn side of things, I think that's really impressive.
Fitbit has lost some luster recently after some decisions that Google has made that people can read about on TechRadar.com. Not going to litigate those here, but the end result was, for that Best Fitness Tracker award, the Galaxy Ring again was voted top by the judges and the voters. Like it was a unanimous win. Yeah, exactly, and I think it's a deserved win. We love the Ring. We've talked about it a lot in our podcast across different platforms. Outside of that, there's a few wins that aren't really a surprise to anyone but are worth highlighting. Apple Watch Series 10 winning the best smartwatch. Not a massively competitive year in fairness, but it's a good upgrade to a solid watch. It brings a lot of features that people have been wanting. Battery life was a small shame, but overall it's beautiful looking, and I think they've done really, really well at introducing more and more features every single year that are actually useful in people's life and not just the sort of gimmicky side of things, which is where a lot of tech starts, but smartwatches in particular, I think, started. Yeah, that's why it actually, just seems to continue getting more and more popular, is it just makes a better and better case for itself every year.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, we were talking about it in the last podcast episode, a couple of us were talking about it in the office this week as well, is it's starting to become that kind of device, an Apple Watch in particular, that you do just have, even if you're not really into watches, even if you're not really into fitness. It just kind of comes thing of like, oh, maybe I should just get one. And Apple's done well to position it in that place.
Yeah, and that thing of, should I buy one for my vulnerable parents because of the fall detection, or should I have one because of the crash detection? It just becomes a kind of, am I silly not to have one?
Yeah. The FOMO factor is real. And then I think there's also one to honourably mention, which is the best connected fitness tech, which went to the Mobvoi home walking treadmill. This might not be like the most exciting win on here, but I think it's really good to highlight because we've actually covered it on our YouTube channel before, and a lot of people were really interested in it. It's an affordable walking pad. We've seen news come out recently that actually standing desks might not be as healthy for you as we thought they were, whereas walking treadmills still stand as a good option, and I think the fact that there's one that's affordable, really robust, works well in general, user-friendly, that won this award, I think it's good.
Yeah, we've been covering these products for a little while on the site in general. This is the first time a product like this has broken through into the awards. So I think as much as anything, it just shows the extra awareness and the extra interest around it. And then this Mobvoi one is the one that really just stood out for value and convenience. Yeah, it's super useful, and in an era where we're still doing lots of hybrid working, a device that can actually make a real difference for people. So big up the Mobvoi home walking treadmill. Yeah. I believe in the next section we're going to be talking about headphones of the year. So absolutely, and we're going to hear from Becky Scarrett, our audio editor, who the winner is.
What you need to know about Bowers & Wilkins earbuds and all B&W products in general is that sound is almost never the issue. And look, I know only a poor broadcaster makes a point with a quote, so indulge me this once with one from leadership mentor John C. Maxwell. A man must be big enough to admit his mistakes, smart enough to profit from them, and strong enough to correct them. And that's what Bowers & Wilkins has done with the PI8. They are unrecognisable from the slightly unreliable and honestly uncomfortable PI7S2 that came before them. But it's not just about them being better than previous offerings. They're 5-star earbuds all day long, irrespective of their heritage. The company has approached the challenge of getting them this good with humility too, chiefly by completely redesigning the driver housings. If I'm honest, they do look quite a lot like the Technics EAH AZ80, but the company's also added an upgraded DAC, DSP and amplifier components, meaning they effectively bypass Qualcomm's digital to analog converter for even better audio quality. All that's really left for me to say is that the PI8 are now as physically comfortable and secure as they are sonically detailed and dynamically agile, which only makes a solid noise cancellation even more effective. No, they're not the cheapest, but that wasn't the brief. They're simply the best wireless earbuds of 2024, and by quite a wide margin.
Thank you, Becky. We have 12 audio awards in total if you want to hear what we have to say, stretching out to the likes of turntables and Bluetooth speakers and all kinds of other things. But we're going to stick with earbuds to talk about the Nothing Ear A next, which won our Best Value Earbuds award. And these are really the other like big, wild breakout success that me and Becky in particular have been talking about a lot, in addition to the Bowers & Wilkins PI8, which actually I'll go back to a second with my opinion on that. The previous Bowers & Wilkins models that this is a follow-on from, like, I've always really loved those, but they just never quite nailed the ergonomics. They didn't have the noise cancellation, and they were so highly priced. You know, they were just never going to become the thing I used every day. The PI8 solved all the problems. The Nothing Ear A are basically that, but at the £100, $100 level. There's just no real flaw with them. They sound so much better than they should for the price. They've got really good active noise cancellation. They've got a good, comfortable design. They've got the pinch controls like AirPods Pro have, which I think is way better than tapping in your ear to push a button to control something, because you don't really want to be shoving an earbud into your ear.
No.
Pinching something separate is way more comfortable. That's just a little thing I have strong opinions about.
No, I actually do as well, because I've recently got some tap gesture ones, and if my hair is wet, can't use them at all, because that seems to activate them.
Nothing's been, nibbling away at the earbud space pretty much since just after it arrived as a brand, and they were fine. And now these ones are excellent. They're just superb. And actually one of the kind of breakthrough brands I wanted to mention is for Best Portable Audio Player, which is for the FIO M23, which is a kind of high-res audio player. This is another one where both the judges and the voters all agreed that it was top. And it's just a superb value, superb sounding music player, kind of for audiophiles, priced, it's not cheap, but it is priced certainly more affordably than brands like Astle and Kern or these really high-cost, high-end, high-results players, but the FIO sounds as good, is super versatile. FIO is a brand that has really kind of burst into the audiophile scene with a load of great value products, and this is clearly the one that has stood out most to the voters and really stood out to us.
It's interesting for me, I sort of always assumed that portable audio player was sort of a fairly nascent market, but this is one I've heard of, and it's one I've seen people get really excited about. So it's cool to see something coming in and shaking up that space, as you say.
We're seeing a lot of things in audio where what's old is new again. It's been vinyl for years. It's audio players as people want something that does maybe is a bit more focused or does a bit more than their phone does. And, even tape players made a comeback this year.
Yeah, it's a bit bizarre.
It's all going on. Finally, I wanted to mention the Audio Brand of the Year winner, which is Bang & Olufsen. Now, they did win another award as well. They won Best Wireless Speaker. But this was particularly based around, for our judges, around the sustainability work that Bang & Olufsen has been doing for a while. The voters also agreed on this, I will say, but I can't tell you why they voted or what they voted for. But I know you know a little more about this sustainability work.
Yes, it's been an interesting journey for me. We've done our first sustainability awards this year, and as part of that process we actually had a nomination from Bang & Olufsen, and we got to learn a lot more about what they're doing behind the scenes. So we get the front-facing stuff that you see quite often, where they're doing the refurbishes of old models, but what they're actually doing with a lot of other models as well is focusing on circularity. So a lot of their products are designed with reusability in mind. They've also been very transparent about their sustainability efforts. They have really strong commitments in the space. So all round, I think they're just a really good brand when it comes to sustainability, but also product design that actually is meaningful towards that. And it's great to see them win something like this for our reasons being sustainability, but also for them just making great products. Having a bit of both, never going to complain.
Absolutely. And then it's back to you, Josie, for the next round of awards.
Yes. So we're going to kick off with Ruth Hamilton telling us about what the best home device of the year is.
Our winner for the best home device of the year is the Dyson Supersonic Neural, a high-tech hairdryer that excels at the basics and adds innovative new features you just won't find anywhere else. Dyson seriously shook up the hairdryer market when it launched its original Supersonic in 2016. The Neural keeps everything that made that dryer great, so you've still got the streamlined design, with most of the weight in the handle making it really easy to wield, and you've also got powerful airflow. What else would you expect from the brand that made its name in vacuum cleaners? But the Neural goes several steps further, adding smart features geared towards streamlining the styling process and keeping your hair healthy. For example, there are sensors in the barrel that monitor how close the Neural is to your head, So if you switch on scalp protect mode, it'll automatically heat up or cool down to maintain a constant temperature on your scalp. That means you can get right up close to your head without burning your hair, reducing heat damage in the long run. The Neural also knows when you've put it down and will drop into low power mode in response, so you're not blasting your dressing table with hot air when you take a pause in styling. You've got a wide selection of styling attachments that go way beyond your basic diffuser concentrator combo and take into account different hair types too. These all snap on and off magnetically, and Neural keeps your last use settings for each one, making swapping between attachments super easy. Sure, the price tag is predictably sky high, but no one else is innovating like Dyson in the hair care space right now. And for styling enthusiasts, the Neural is the hairdryer to lust after.
Thanks so much for that, Ruth. If you want to check out all 11 of the homes categories we have this year, as with all of the other entries, you're probably tired of hearing it now, check the link below. So, interesting year for homes, I would say. We had some wins in there that are first timers, wins in there that we did not expect at all, but we are very happy to see as well. I think the first one that I'd want to talk about there is the Doro Hema. That won Video Doorbell of the Year, and I think it's the first time we've ever not had a Ring doorbell win, or at the very least one of the rare times it hasn't.
It's been a while, for sure.
Yeah.
That was one when I was putting together the votes, in particular because it wasn't just that the judges voted it, it was that the readers voted it as well. So it really broke the mold there.
And I don't even know off the top of my head if that's available in the US, so I think there's been a very strong UK vote come through there. Doro as a brand is just lovely. They have a lot of focus on accessibility, especially for older generations who might not be so tech savvy. And it's really, really great to see them win because they're focusing on an audience that actually needs products designed for them in a way that's not patronising, and it does it really well. So I think it's nice to have them on there. Shark also have to be mentioned and discussed in general, right? They have been put forward for a lot of categories and actually won quite a few. They won our Brand of the Year, they won Best Vacuum and Best Air Fryer. The Brand of the Year one, I have to say, was not a surprise to me at all. They have just done so well this year. They've managed to innovate in categories that they've been in for a long time, and they've also entered new ones like fans, which was a bit of a surprise at first, but it kind of makes sense when they've been doing vacuum and air care stuff otherwise.
I would also just say, in general, I do think a company called Shark Ninja should win Brand of the Year every year.
They should, although I would like if their logo featured a shark and or a ninja, preferably a shark that is a ninja. But unfortunately, no one seemed to have that forethought. In terms of the products that won, definitely worth talking about the Ninja Double Stack Air Fryer. I reviewed this, I have this, I love this because it's just so clever. They rear mounted the heating elements instead of top mounting them so that you could get circulation across two vertically stacked trays rather than a horizontal model, which many of them are, and makes them very bulky. The performance does take a very, very, very slight dip because of that, but I mean, I'm happy with that because it means I can actually have a high-capacity air fryer in my very, very tiny kitchen.
And this was another unanimous one where the voters and the judges all agreed, and you know, it's kind of not really a surprise in today's era. A lot of newly built apartments, newly built houses are not devoting a lot of space to kitchen counters, and yet we are all more obsessed with kitchen gadgets than we've ever been.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a really smart move from Shark Ninja. I'm so surprised that more people haven't done it yet because in my mind it feels like a quite easy switch just to move the heating elements, but the fact they haven't probably means that Shark's done quite a lot of legwork here in R&D. And their other win that I wanted to highlight was the Shark Detect Pro cordless. Again, another device that I actually have and use at home, considering I have access to quite a lot of vacuums through work. So that's a bit of a testament, I would say. It's not quite at the level of some of the Dyson vacuums we've seen over the years, but especially if you get the self-emptying model with the base, it just offers a level of convenience that is so, so nice.
This was a runaway winner from the voters.
Again, it's kind of like with some of the other categories we've seen and talked about. People really know and really like this brand. They trust them to make affordable devices that are also stylish enough and that have good enough specs, right? Some of the specs on them are fantastic, but a lot of the models are just in that midline, and I think seeing so many devices in there from them is nice to see.
Like the Millennium Falcon, they've got it where it counts.
Exactly, exactly. So those are all of our reader categories, but we have a couple more that have been voted on by our expert judges. Matt, do you want to run through what those are?
First is our Sustainability Award, which goes to the Acer Aspire Vero 16 laptop. Now, with this award, we're looking for products that really stood out to us in terms of the materials used and the product manufacturing process and the kind of holistic way that these things are actually built and put together and planned. And Josie, I know you know a little more about Acer's practices here.
Yes, so Acer entered for our full TechRadar Sustainability Awards, and throughout the process, much like we discussed earlier with Bang & Olufsen, we got to learn a lot more about the behind the scenes of what goes on at Acer, but also a lot of the public-facing documentation they have really outlines how solid of a commitment they have in this space. Amazing focus on circularity, amazing focus on products lasting long enough that you're not just going to send them straight to landfill a couple of years after getting them. And they also have some fantastic social policies for their own team and staff as well. So they just have this really, really 360 approach to sustainability, and it comes through in every single one of their products. It's great to see.
And this particular laptop was chosen by our computing team based on their experience with it and some of the other, not just the other Acer products, but some of the other products from other brands who were in contention for this award.
Yes.
So next then we have our Brand of the Year awards. Yes. We've gone through some of the individual sub-brands of the year for the different categories we have. This is kind of our overall tech brand of the year based on, you know, all kinds of elements this year. Really, this one comes down to just the sheer amount of good products that have been released this year, because it is going to Samsung.
Yes, it's a highly contested category, but I think looking back through the winners, especially if you look at the full list,
yes, if people visit the full list, they will see that Samsung won over 10% of all of our awards on its own. Obviously, there are so many different companies producing products that appeared all over the awards, but in terms of just the amount that actually broke through, the amount that won, how strongly the reader vote went for them, as well as some of the ones that were chosen by just our judges. Samsung just had a fantastic year when it comes to releasing good products.
Yeah, and they've performed solidly in both hardware and software as well, which I think is a big part of this. Their new robot vacuum, they're really focusing on doing both parts well, and that shines through in the results.
Yeah, they've had a great year in AV, they've had a great year in phones. A worthy winner. And then our last award is our One to Watch, which is not about the tech that came out this year. It was about the tech that appeared this year and will come out in the future, or is generally going to have a huge effect on other things that are developing in the future. And we have chosen this year Meta's Orion's smart glasses.
Yes, a very recent one for us to see and to feel so strongly about. We talked about it in our last podcast episode, and they have managed to do something that no one else has done yet in such a tangible way, incorporating their AI elements really, really seamlessly. Frames are a bit thick, but it's not a released product yet.
Yeah, but you know, the crucial thing is they're so much thinner than anything else that has this kind of tech in. So last year, this award went to Apple Vision Pro.
Yes.
Because we were so interested in this incredibly stable and developed augmented reality platform that it promised. And what we've had from Apple Vision Pro is, yes, this is an incredibly slick experience. It becoming a product that lots of people will buy feels like a long way off. It is still a big, bulky headset. It's still very expensive. Meta Orion, obviously we can't talk about the price because it's a fully unreleased product, but it has a similar kind of AR experience to Apple Vision Pro in many ways, but it's just a pair of glasses.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we have to give credit as well to the fact that, much like the Vision Pro, we're not going to be able to get these on the market for a while yet in a way that is tangible to most people. But again, you have to credit them for doing something really solidly so far that has not been done before to such a mature degree.
Yeah, you know, the reason that we gave the Meta Orion this award is because of how far it's going to push everyone else to catch up. I'm sure we will see some of the brands we've talked about today pushing to catch up with the fact that Meta is really just leapt ahead in terms of making a product that you can look at if you were to ever get the chance to try it. Probably not going to happen for most people, but like, you know, you would try it and just go, oh wow, yeah, this is the future.
Well, it sort of harkens to the heyday of tech as well, really, where like people aren't afraid to show a product that's very much still in development, but is tangible enough that it could happen in a few years. That's a direct call out to you, Elon Musk. It's an exciting time, and it's an exciting thing to do. And I like that Zuckerberg doesn't seem to be afraid of a little bit of competition.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, that's everything we're going to cover here today. But remember, if you want to see all 102 winners, including links to our reviews for them all, so you can read about them in depth, please just follow the link in the description.
And for more tech news and reviews, check out techradar.com in general and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all the latest videos we're going to be sharing.